Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News. It is March 13th, 2022. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as the title of this video says, now I am not the only one that is seeing this evidence of another stellar object within our solar system that is now, and has been for many years, orbiting our sun. Mainstream science never wanted to admit this. Maybe they never saw it. Maybe they were never looking for it. Well, a few days ago, I received an email from a group of Helio Scientists. Scientists that study the sun. And apparently there was a very young man. He is, as what was described to me, as an engineer of some kind. That was the only information that was given to me. The photograph that you see on your screen now is not one of my images. It is one of their images. Now, these scientists obviously have access to data that possibly I don't. They could be using what's referred to as FITS data, and that has to be, it's a code. It has to be translated and then translated into images. I don't have that capability. So apparently, as the information goes that was given to me, is this young engineer was developing photographic software, computer software, that will, I guess, enhance coronagraph images and also images that are coming from this new probe that was launched out near the sun called the Solar Orbiter. Now, I know that this particular image is not from that solar orbiter. However, I guess they do examine many different data streams that are recorded of the sun coming from these probes, and especially some of the new ones that are out there now. And I guess the young man discovered something on the 10th, just a few days ago. And apparently one of the other Helio scientists knew of me. He knew of my channel. He has watched some of my videos. And he has even left some comments, he said, in the past, criticizing what I have been showing everyone for years. Why? Well, from his words, it was unbelievable. If there was another object orbiting our sun, why would it not be affecting the Earth if it was this close? And then he goes on to state that all of a sudden, these Earth changes that have to do with weather, aka climate change. And they all agree with me that climate change does not just occur instantaneously in a natural form. It takes a long time, possibly hundreds of years. So when this young engineer was finishing up, I guess, in the development of this software that's used to, I guess, decipher the FITS images, the FITS codes, he stumbled onto what you are looking at on your screen now. And it's quite incredible. And again, these are not my images. These were the images that were sent to me. I have done absolutely nothing to this image. And again, this was dated on March 10th, 2022. These images were taken from the LASCO C2 coronagraph. Timestamp and everything is right down there at the bottom of the image. So you think that looks pretty cool, huh? Well, let's go down here. Let's take a zoomed in look at it. And whenever I did pull these images up, I was pretty thrown back. I said to myself, wow, you know, I have caught the same image on the LASCO C2. However, my image is slightly different because I'm just using the regular feed that the public gets. Now, you know, if you're a scientist and you're working at a university and you've got grants and you've got money, you know, you can tap into better imagery, better data, and that's just the way that it goes. Well, you know, I'm not an engineer working as a professor or under some kind of grant at some university. So I just get the public data. Well, apparently, you know, they're getting feeds possibly directly from, you know, NASA, LASCO, SOHO, the SDO, the solar orbiter, who knows? So as I started to look at this image, I said to myself, well, hell, you know, that was a pretty big coronal mass ejection. This object is obviously towards the back side of the sun. If you're looking at this image straight on, this object is orbiting on the back side. And you know, it's coming in this direction, so it would have been looping around here. And this is a possible point where it comes closest to the sun. Now, normally we're seeing this object here, here, and here because of the way that it orbits. So I guess, as I've theorized many times before, that it's getting closest to the sun here, causing coronal mass ejections here, causing coronal mass ejections, and then as it exits right over here, causing coronal mass ejections. And this is the main way that we're able to see this object. It's that plain and simple. I've been asked this question, you know, my God, 1,000 times. Why do we always see this object in a coronal mass ejection? Well, the coronal mass ejection is part of the problem. It is creating, this object is creating the coronal mass ejection. As I've put it before in plain layman's terms, it's lighting it up. It's like shining a flashlight in a dark room, and now you can see. Well, the coronal mass ejections are kind of acting as our flashlight, and we're catching the images. Knock it off there, doggy. Sorry about that. The dog wants in on the damn video. What could I say? But anyways, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the next image, which is blown up a little bit more. Now, I've had, you know, all of the critics with their complete nonsense. Oh, you know, these images are photoshopped. They're fake. They're this. They're that. Hey, look, you know, I am no type of like computer artist. I don't own a Photoshop program. Okay, so you know, we could put all that nonsense pretty much out the door. Anybody can take any of these images. You know, you can turn them into negatives. You could play with the coloring. You can do whatever you want to do. Okay, you're not going to see any differences in pixel sizes and things of that nature if you were placing images into a main image, doing overlays and things of that nature. Okay, it benefits me nothing to pull that kind of fakery on people. It's just plain stupid. Now, there are people on YouTube that do that. They simply do it for views and, you know, a little bit of YouTube money. But anyways, getting back to this. Okay, so we're looking at this image. You see no pixelization. These are the highest definition photographs that you can possibly get. No pixelization. The image is clear as a bell. And on top of that, I don't know how you would try to fake this kind of an image and get these bursts of, I don't know what that would be, heat, plasma, electrical interference coming from the massive plasma dome. You could see it. It's actually overlapping this object. So, that kind of throws all that stuff out the door. So, I'm reviewing this image, and they asked if I would take their image, their data, and see what I come up with, running it through the software program that I have access to. And I did just that. And we'll just go ahead down here, and we're going to pull up the first image. Now, why? Sorry about all the brightness. I have no idea why the photograph came back and it was rendered in this way. It normally doesn't produce this type of coloration. It may have something to do with their data. I don't know. I don't know all of that real hardcore technical background with these programs, because these programs are run by experts. They have training, specialized training, and I do get some help from them in this aspect. And I'm not talking about these Helio scientists. I'm talking about the folks that have worked with me for years now to develop a way to see through the images and see what is actually there, peeling back the layers and seeing what is in that data. So this is what was rendered. All of these images just came through. You're actually seeing them first before I email these back to this group of Helio scientists. And none of them are American. They've got some kind of odd names. I don't know what nationality they are. It seems to be possibly Eastern European of some kind. I'm going to have to figure out with their names. Let's get in a closer look at this. So again, the image is what it is. And if you look right up here at the top, wow. You can't get any better than that. Taking into consideration that we're viewing this from 93 million miles away. And, this is a pretty damn good image. Let's zoom into it a little bit more. Okay, again, you're seeing this. I'm assuming that this may be plasma of some kind. I don't know exactly what this material is. It is definitely part of this huge halo type coronal mass ejection that this object caused. And see, folks, this is the issue. This is the issue that I've been referring to for quite a while. We're moving into this solar maximum, which means the sun's going to be producing more and more and more energy, and it's going to become more and more active. Okay, we've already started to see that. So just based on that, if the sun's producing more energy, more sunspots, then the interaction between the sun and that object, well, it's going to create more havoc, more filament releases, plasma releases, more coronal mass ejections, more volatile sunspots. Now all of that has to do with what could happen to the Earth. Okay, getting hit by a massive coronal mass ejection, which would be similar to an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. Well, the world now runs on electronics. So that would literally just burn everything up. Your cars won't work. The electrical grid will go down. There's problems that the military has been worried about with this type of situation happening. Satellites that orbit the Earth would probably fry. We would have no GPS service. And I would definitely assume that Elon Musk's Starlink network would pretty much be completely destroyed. Military satellites could possibly be completely destroyed. We would be literally pushed back in time 150 years. Maybe a little less, but regardless, you're getting my point. And this is something that you just can't fix in a few days or a few weeks or even a few months. From what I've been told, it would take decades, little by little. Oh, so you think you're going to just, start generators? Okay, well, that's only going to last for a short amount of time because we won't even be able to produce energy. Gas, natural gas, things of that nature. Just imagine what would happen with all of the nuclear reactors around the world if they lost complete, total power. What would happen when the emergency generators did not work? Yeah, now you're seeing my point. So there's more to worry about than just these weather changes. It's insane. We just got 8 inches of snow yesterday here in Pittsburgh. We had a few beautiful days moving into spring. Next thing you know, bam, out of nowhere. 8 inches of snow. It stopped by late morning, and then overnight I think we picked up another 2 or 3 inches. So as we gradually move on, into the spring and the summer, what are we going to be in for? I've spoken to a few people in a few other European countries, and like the UK, Spain, France, Portugal. Portugal's having a situation right now, a very severe drought. A lot of their country is run by hydroelectricity. The dams and the lakes that are behind the dams are dried up. So therefore, there's little hydroelectricity being conducted. Therefore, they're having power outages, literally trying to save power, save energy. This could happen to the United States. This could happen in any country that's using hydroelectricity. So there's a lot of things that are on the plate right now as far as what could go wrong, and kind of rack my brain about this every day. I wish I had a crystal ball, rub that crystal ball and see what's in the future. But we're going to find out, and this is going to be the first full spring and summer where we're moving into this solar maximum. So each year that goes by, over the next 3 to 5 years, we're really, really going to get a taste of this. That is a little scary, because nobody has the answers. And I mean absolutely nobody. No professional scientists, no Helio scientists, no climatologists, Nobody can see into this future over this next 3 to 5 year period. There is definitely going to be some very severe interactions between that damn object, our sun, and our Earth. There is no doubt about it. You know, many years ago, I used to, I don't want to say make fun of preppers, because I started doing it myself, and getting some things kind of saved up, canned goods and things of that nature. There's a high possibility that, prepping in some kind of way, creating some type of an emergency food system for yourself and your family, canned goods, maybe use one of those large plastic bins with a lid. They sell them at Walmart in all kind of sizes. Something for just some kind of an emergency. Maybe a small camping propane tank, a few extra propane tanks, food, some cooking utensils, some flashlights, batteries, first aid kit, a filtration system like the Berkey stainless steel water filters, where you could just literally pour river water in the top side and have crystal clear filtered water coming out of the spout on the bottom. They're expensive, but I have one here at home. I've been using it now for 5 years. So, I don't know. I'm not trying to scare anybody or fear monger. I'm just trying to be truthful. Period. Because I don't know what's going to be happening in this time span that's coming up here, this from now into the next 3 to 5 years. But it's best to be safe and think about it. This was another image that was rendered from my programming. Again, the other color that just came up, I don't even know what the hell that is, but it is what the program came up with. And this, same thing. This was the second rendering that was put forth, and the color is, pretty cool color. It does show a little bit more detail, so we'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. And again, you're not seeing any pixelization except kind of right in here where that occulter would be, and that's inside of the viewfinder, the camera, inside of the probe. Kind of blocks out the rays of the sun, so you can literally catch a look and see the rays of the sun, the coronal mass ejections, plasma releases, filament releases, things of that nature. So if you look up top here, there's our bad boy right there. A little bit more detail, not much. And you got to remember something, these solar probes and telescopes, cameras, they've been out there for a long, long time. They've been battered by cosmic rays. They've been battered by the solar wind. The technology is decades old. But I'm sure they're getting some really, really good data from that Parker Space Probe, and probably getting some really good data from that solar orbiter. And I've asked these guys if they are able to get me some of that data, or if they see anything else during coronal mass ejections. Get me the data. And then I asked the big question. Why aren't you guys, you're all credible scientists, why aren't you going public with this? If you're seeing it, on your computer screens? Why aren't you immediately going to the science community, going to the media? Now you know it is there. And now you're going to have to put together the pieces to the puzzle, like I have been trying to do for decades. Well, I got a good bit of silence from them, and once again, it all boils down to money, believe it or not. The first thing that came out of their mouths were, oh my, well, I would lose my funding. Oh, I would lose my job. What would I do then? My name would be mud. My name and my credibility would not allow me to get a job. Same thing happened to Dr. Albers. 17-year career teaching at a major university in South Africa. She made some discoveries, wrote some scientific papers on it, was invited to speak on 2 of these papers at a physicist convention just before she left for the United States. Okay, so I guess I don't want to call them cowards, because everybody has families. Things are not getting any better around the world with this inflation, what's being done to the United States and just the whole world. So I guess, cutting off your source of money, cutting off your employment, well, that would put you in a really bad situation, wouldn't it? It's been done to me. It's been done to Dr. Albers. I mean, they pretty much ended her 17-year career in one day. Just like that. And I think these 4 guys know that. Well, hell yeah, they know that. And once again, people come out of the woodwork, they come out of anywhere, and they choose me. I guess I've been, pretty damn outspoken about this, and I've found a way to break through and prove that we have a new neighbor in this solar system. People think that that's literally impossible, but it's not. Go take a look at Jupiter. And over the last decade, how many more moons has Jupiter acquired? And where in the hell did they come from? You go from 66 to 86 or 66 to 88. Okay, that's quite an improvement. Where did they come from? But Jupiter's big enough and has a massive gravitational force that it can draw them in, pull them in, and what happens? They get placed into what? An orbit around the planet. So who is to say that a rogue object speeding through space, possibly spit out from the center of our galaxy, speeding through the galaxy at millions of miles per hour, such as a hypervelocity star or a hypervelocity planet, and it gets close enough to our sun, and our sun starts to pull on it and slows it down enough to where it pulls it in, and it is now in an orbit and it's not going anywhere. Not in our lifetimes. So for everybody out there that talks about the mythical story of Nibiru and the 3,600-year orbit, okay, folks, maybe Nibiru does exist somewhere out there, okay? But we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with a rogue object that I believe Dr. Robert Harrington saw, and maybe, in his telescope when he was in New Zealand, maybe this was nothing more than a little blip, a little dot. But he was a skilled professional astronomer. And, he was watching this object. And the reason why he was in New Zealand is because this object was below us, coming up. There's kind of no up and down and east and west and north and south in space. But he knew to go to New Zealand to view this object. But again, his data was nothing compared to what we have now. Their estimated time of arrival when this object would be getting close to our solar system was like 50 or 60 years. But that time frame was like cut in half. And by 2007, we got our first view of this object literally coming in and looping around the sun in about a week and then heading back out. And that was in late February 2007. And that was on the Stereo B spacecraft that monitors the sun, which is no longer in service and just aimlessly drifting out around the sun, but producing no data. We do get data from Stereo A, but Stereo B, they say, is out of commission. I personally believe that it is in working condition. It is producing data, and it's probably producing some of the best data because of its positioning, and that's why it's been cut off to public viewing. Just my opinion. So let's get a closer look at this. Again, the only pixelization you see is a little bit right here within the occulter, but when you get up to the image is about as clear as you are going to get, based on it being 93 million miles away, and the data is coming from a much older probe satellite with a camera system on it, and this is the LASCO C2. So I looked at these images as they came back, and I said to myself, wow, the evidence just gets better and better and better and more undeniable. What are you going to say? What can you say? What can we do? We can learn. We can accept what's going on, and kind of take things day by day. When we start to see in the course of the next year or so, when we start to see more activity on the sun, things picking up, the pace picking up, then we can make adjustments. We could make adjustments to our life, to our way of living. Until then, it's day by day. But we have to stay on top of the evidence. We have to stay on top of investigating what is happening. And maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't hold your breath, but maybe mainstream science in the helio field, the solar field, maybe they'll wake up one day and maybe they'll expose the truth, and maybe they'll have better data than I do. They probably will. They have better access to it. But then you always have the fear of a massive panic worldwide. And I think that's been one of the biggest factors in disclosing what I've discovered. Losing control of the populations. The world's a very crazy place right now. I don't foresee it getting any better. There are many, many different agendas with these world governments and the deep states and the elite, the globalists, all of that good stuff. I'm sure they know about this. I'm sure they know about this. I want to show you guys this other photo because this is another photo that these guys forwarded to me. This is their writing. Whatever. I don't even know what this is. I guess this is a diagram of what the coronal cavity looked like. They put it into the image. This is a composite view coming from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. They labeled the coronal cavity, which would be that outer round teardrop shape right there, and you could see it in their diagram over here. You can see this large plasma tail rising up. Either it's trying to make a connection or it's being pulled up by that object. Now, because this is a composite image, this is 3 different levels of extreme ultraviolet light. The object will tend to just be kind of a misty looking dark object, a dark circle. They labeled it unknown object because I guess that's a good name for it, because again, it's unknown. We really don't know what the hell it is, what its composition is, what it's made of, where the hell it came from. And we could zoom in just a little bit. That's as far as I could zoom into it. Interesting. Just kind of a black circle, but that's what you get. I've caught this image on the SDO composite diagram of the sun. I've caught this many, many times over the last 4 or 5 years, and I've showed it to all of you guys. I've gotten actually some better images than what we're looking at right here. But I'll tell you what, going back to this image and this image, let me tell you, that's some good stuff right there. I sat here for quite a while, man, just checking this out. And what more can you say? It's here. It's now part of our solar system. It is going to create some changes during solar maximums. And it did create a lot of changes during this past solar minimum. Because what did we see throughout the whole entire solar minimum? We saw an extreme amount of activity on the sun, unrelated to sunspots. And pretty much on a daily basis, we saw large filament releases and a lot of coronal mass ejections. If you were paying attention to my channel and watching, I showed you. And I also showed you the evidence that was being produced by these solar minimum coronal mass ejections. So now we're out of the solar minimum. We're moving faster and faster into the solar maximum. And bingo. I'm hoping that these 4 gentlemen find some more data and get it over to me. let me examine it, and let me, put it through the other program, and let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Because again, like I said in the beginning, this is their image. This is their evidence. This is what this young engineer, this is what he found. Not me. Very, very interesting. Like I said, I've been staring at the image for hours. Of a black and white. This is my image. This is me getting that same image that you guys just looked at. That came from the Helio guys. That's what I call them now. This is my image. Same date, but this is taken from the public view of the C2 coronagraph. And mine just so happens to be just a little blurry. You can see it's just a little blurry because of all of the intensity that was coming out of this large coronal mass ejection, which was a huge loop, a huge coronal cavity. So there we go. We got those guys and we got me confirming the same find. Pretty damn cool. And I had it in the original form, which is the red color. And you see that huge round circle. And it's almost like during this explosive event that it took the shape of that object. This. Almost like a big sun halo, It's kind of odd. I've really never seen that perfect of a circle like that within or being produced, as a coronal mass ejection or even a coronal cavity. Just interesting, You could sit here and you could just stare at it. See how mine was blurry? And that was the best that the forensic program could possibly do in bringing this out. And again, these probes are getting older and older and older. They're getting battered and battered by the cosmic rays and the solar wind and all of the heavily charged particles from the sun. There's a very high possibility that sometime, possibly during this last 3 to 5 years of this solar maximum, hey, we may lose these probes. We may lose Stereo A. We may lose the SDO. We'll see. But it's possible. It's definitely possible. And then here you go. This was just, I think this is all the same time frame, but this is coming from the Cactus program. And it must have been closer, and it was in the beginning of this huge event, this huge discharge, because you could see that round halo starting to form. And then what's right there? I mean, it's undeniable. And these are my images that were captured through the Cactus program. We could back off of it a little bit and you could see it a little bit better. It's not so kind of distorted. But this was many hours before those other images that I just showed you. So this was the beginning. And the Cactus, it's showing a kind of a different view. Possibly a more magnified view. I don't really know. But it's there. It's there. Right before your eyes. But, anyways, folks, I wanted to share all of this with you. I wanted you guys to be the first to see these images and to now know that there is a younger generation of scientists and engineers in the Helio field that have just got their eyes opened, wide opened. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they'll disclose the information. But the way that the media is, the way that these operations on these social media platforms go, they could easily be discredited, kicked to the curb, and their careers completely ruined. The question is, will they do it, and are they prepared for it? Well, look, these guys are bookworms. I could tell in my conversations with them, they don't have thick skins like me. They're not used to, being trolled. Let's just say that. They'd probably lose their mind if they trekked in my shoes over the course of just say the last 5 years. I suggested that they all sit down and write a book. Use pen names to publish a book. Talk about your career, who you are, not who you are by name, but what you do for a living and what you found. Maybe people will believe you more than they believe me, because I don't have those PhD in engineering diplomas on the wall. I'm just a hardcore investigator that just happens to be pretty damn smart, and I've always had a natural curiosity about space. And I worked for years and years to make this discovery, prove its existence. I think I've done that. Now we just have to kind of think about what's going to happen in the future, because we're already seeing pretty drastic changes to our planet that we live on, that we absolutely need to survive. I don't want to live in space. I don't want to live on Mars. Okay? I want to live right here. Maybe generations into the future. Maybe that could be for them. But for me, I want to be here on Mother Earth. I don't know how much time I have left on this planet. Maybe a few hours, maybe a few weeks, months, years, or a few decades. I'm 54 years old now, who knows? But I do want to be around, just out of pure curiosity, to see how this whole story plays out. Will it have a good ending? Will it have a bad ending? That's something that we will definitely see in the upcoming future. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned to Planet X News. If you enjoyed the information, give the video a thumbs up, and keep Dr. Albers in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you for watching.